Okay, this is What is Wrong with the World Part 3. This is going to have everything to do with how we treat each other. This is more of a social arena. And what we observe about other people and how we meet people we want to date and marry. But just, again, getting back to just how do we treat other people. Um, so this is a tough one in a lot of respects. It's hard. It's much easier talking about taxes and policies, even though it's very much a headache, it's less personal. How you treat other people, whether, it can get more emotional. And yet we have our reasons. Each of us have our own reasons for why we treat certain people certain ways. You know. So I can't, I understand that there's limits to what I ought to say in this regard, in a universal aspect. If you want to be cruel or kind to nerds, as you see people being, you know, as you see people fitting that definition, that's more up to you. Of course, I think cruelty in general is bad, but anyway. So I want you to just starting the subject off. I want you to think about, as we're talking about, I want you to think about 10 people, 10 to 12 people right off the bat. Boom, 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 And so these people that you interact with on a daily basis or fairly regularly, and how do you treat them? And why do you treat them the way you do, and what do they do to you? Do they pull you down in life, or do they pull you up? And based on, and are there people, are there sorts of people that you want to meet that you aren't meeting, that you don't know? And would you want to change your life that way somehow? And, you know, it's, if you hear yourself saying that these people, you guys could vary from I love everybody in this whole group. I love them all. I'm kind to all of them. That's great. So then think of 10 more people that then 10 more, right? But if in that first 10 you get a lot of red flags, the way you treat them or the way they treat you, I think this video is, you guys are probably going to, people that, if you fall in that category, you might get more out of this video than people that have everything going well for them, or so they try to, I don't know. So mindset is everything a lot of times anyway. If you have a positive attitude, that can really be a great thing. Some of us are worrywart. Some of us are sticklers or perfectionistic or very intolerant of various qualities in others, and so on and so forth. And that's just, I don't know, wondrous variety in humanity. But personally, I think that there are people that we prefer to spend time with, and it's hard to deal with that desire when people that want to spend time with us aren't necessarily those kinds of people. Maybe sometimes they are, but some people, this is a hard one. I understand that there's so many different kinds of situations that people can find themselves in, where they're just less socially desirable, or people are less interested in dating them. It can be anything from extreme obesity and having pimples all over your face to just not being very desirable, romantically, sexually, whatever. You're not very attractive, or so you might think you are not, because you heard this from one or two people that really cut you deep, right? But whatever it is, you're chubby or you're facially not very attractive. Some many people, or whatever, body is not attractive as much. Uh, you're older, maybe you have more gray hair, white hair. I don't know. And you're single, or you want to have, or maybe it's not necessarily a romantic thing. Maybe you just want more people to talk to. And you're older, or you're less active, or it's hard to meet new people, talk to new people out of the blue. It's hard because these people are looking for certain kinds of people to talk to, and you don't, and maybe you don't fit their fit our. I'm just like everyone else. I have, I just that I realize that life is just kind of random sometimes. You don't always know. You can't always control who you meet or who wants to get to know you better. So you just kind of go with it sometimes. And so, for me, with my social outlook on the world, honestly, the first thing that I notice about anyone is just the way I feel around that person. Just the way I feel. I have my own way of feeling when I'm by myself. That's kind of more, like, you can kind of get an idea about where your character's at, somewhat. At least if you have a good idea, a keener, hopefully an increasingly keen idea about what your character ought to be. Or, I can mention that more. This is a very spiritual thing, but, you know, but inner peace, that sort of thing, and just being comfortable in your own skin, and so, but a lot of us, we don't have control sometimes over who we meet. So the first thing I notice about anybody is just how do they make me feel. And there are times when we ignore certain things that maybe aren't so hot about someone else. We ignore them because maybe they're just not a big deal. Maybe we just don't know anybody that we would really like to talk to, and just kind of go with it. We allow other people to kind of just be whatever around us. And why? Because we don't know anybody we like more at the moment. Just all, sure. I totally understand that. I think I've been in similar cases, somewhat, not never fully, never 100% that way. But yeah, it's hard, depressing to associate with someone pretty regularly who you just aren't really always very happy to be around. But they're nice enough. There are times though when people can be manipulative. They can be all these other things that we don't like. And so it's like it's never fun to say, you know what? Let's not really hang out so much anymore. And then, we just, how do you do that? It's always hard romantically or dating wise. It's also hard just in terms of a friendship. We don't, if we actually think something somewhat remotely well of somebody that we've spent time with a lot, nah, it's not easy. So a lot of times things end in arguments. Friendships end in arguments, or there's a misunderstanding, or somebody's a lot less mature than us, or something. All kinds of things that happen. So, like, I realize these things are very hard. So what's wrong? Getting back to my central concept here, what's wrong with the way we just sometimes socialize and just interact with people? Well, I personally think that, talking about my previous subject, education, when we go to a public school or even a private school in some respects, if our parents kind of control, some parents are very controlling, but if we kind of are bussed around from school to church to whatever, whoever, if parents kind of run the show, that's not always necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing in many respects. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I have huge respect for parents that want good things for their kids. It might be the case at times, though, that kids are still have their uniquenesses, but it's not necessarily the problem isn't necessarily the parents being over parenting. It's not only that. It's more of a the situation that some folks, including myself, find anyone who's introverted and allows or lets parents run things for them. The problem is when that's gone. You know, you have an introverted person or a person that has this all this structure, and it's gone. So then, how does a person fare in life? Well, maybe not always very well. It just depends. I mean, it's in a social sense. It's the question is how proactive socially is someone. It takes a lot of energy, and none of us are getting younger. It gets harder as you get older to, all these things. So it's so easy to kind of let other people run things if you're not really proactive, and it's easy to feel like you're rude if you're especially, apt to just say, nope, this is who I want to spend time with, and this is who I don't. Or so I feel like it's unrighteous even to do that, But I mean, it's just a lot of different ways of looking at people. I try to let people. Try to let people have the benefit of the doubt. If some person comes into my life that looks like a used car salesman, but they're pretty cheerful and friendly, am I going to think, oh, they're dishonest, or they look kind of scuzzy because they have this used car thing about them, or because they're jolly and they help me feel good? Maybe I'll be more friendly with them. You can go either way, but you have to, given it one day, getting, in my opinion, you can stand before God at some point, but we don't get to that right now. But whether it's God or something, you have to be able to say, this is why I went this route, this route with this person, this route with this person, and if you have I think that if you make bad decisions socially, depending on why you made them or how many, it just depends. But if you push good people away from you or people that you ought to have in your life, it's to some degree or another. If you push those people away, I think that's going to catch up to you. Now, in my case, I just feel like, you know, for whatever reason, I have been very upset by people in the past, and I just have a side to me where I notice a lot of things that people I tolerate. I try to tolerate everyone, but just so many people have been upset by or hurt by enough so that I just really, and there's so many things I'm doing now with my time and work. It's hard to just kind of say to myself, oh, it's hard for me to have faith in humanity the way I was when I was little, and I would love to have that back again. But I know how cruel people can be. Yeah, and unbelievably so. People that go to church every Sunday and we think they're so amazing, but you know, I don't know. I mean, so yes, there's a lot of hypocrisy. I see, just in churchgoers, I see that, but there's a lot of hypocrisy in general in the world, and we're very hard on ourselves. We can be, myself included, and we, can be very hard on other people. But I think it's more of something where if for a long time we've wanted people in our life, whether it's romantic or some other way, some other thing that we want, if we don't have the people in our life that we would like, we wonder why. It's like a religious thing, or it's like a spiritual question. Ministers sometimes ask this question, among others, to kind of get people to think about, maybe I should join a good church fellowship. I'm not trying to knock these other. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I see this as being very much a bigger thing. This is not a matter of going to church or not, so to speak. It's a matter of putting yourself out there, but putting yourself out there to the right sorts of people that want to know you, including something romantic, you know, or whatever, you know. But again, it's so hard to do that when you've been pushed around and belittled, and some people out there listening to this video might be reclusive, very much so, far more than me, because, you know, somebody told them they were not only a nerd, but they told them they were unattractive and they were, you know, a waste of space, or, you know, go kill yourself. That's a very YouTube thing to say. But this is just so mean and cruel. It's sometimes beyond that stuff. I was with a uh, gentleman who's he's a good friend of mine. Yeah, he's getting me a better friend. A gentleman who is in my same church as I am. We were watching uh, a TV show recently that I haven't seen for a while, Stranger Things, and I couldn't help but notice that, you know, I remember the way that people talked to each other when I was younger, and how we just treated each other. And the people that treated me the best, I think, were two good friends I had. There was a few other girls that treated me well, and rather well, very well. And then, you know, a few Asian kids and stuff, and I knew, and yeah, a few other kids, some black kids too. I mean, there was like always, you know, at least a dozen, at least if not more, that were genuinely very kind and very awesome folks to be around. And when I was in public school, but that was more elementary school. As I get older, it was really hard to. A lot of things were very hard, but yeah, the good people I knew, just I didn't interact with them as often, and um, you know, that was hard. So I often found myself just not in the right circles, you know, basically. And but the things that we people said to each other, it's just, I mean, this is, I know, I mean, I remember the '80s and the '90s and stuff. I always thought the '90s seemed colder than the '80s, and just things seem in general more evil as I've sensed more evil as I've gotten older. And it's not only getting older, but it's also the way things just are. The environment of the way the world is. It makes you want to live in an Amish community where everybody keeps the commandments and is, you know, really nice to each other. It makes you want to be there sometimes. Or Provo or Scotland, or take your pick. Highlands of Scotland or something. I don't know. There's that musical called oh goodness, this is a, oh yeah, Brigadoon. I'm talking about, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Brigadoon, like old-fashioned European, or old, you know, Africa even, or the old country, right? But the way things have been, but maybe kind of a somewhat romanticized idea of various places in the world that, you know. No, but I mean, anyway, Stranger Things. Stranger Things, you know, it's a great TV show, but there are a lot of dumb things that kids say, of course, but juvenile and dumb. Some things, though, are rather cruel. And when you're a teenager, it can take on additional meaning, additional weight. So some things that are said. I think that no matter how hard it is for guys to handle feelings of being attractive or not, imagine girls have it 10 times as hard. I don't know. So that's why you have the bone thin girls that feel like maybe they are too fat, and they're definitely not fat at all. Everything from that kind of train of thought to girls that maybe want to be more curvy, and maybe it's impossible for them to be more curvy because they're so slender. But I imagine a lot of girls think more the first way than the second way. Because if they are too curvy, they might think they're really chubby. And whatever. I don't know. It's just, I understand that the whole physical attractiveness thing is a really big deal for girls because guys seem to be so, we are just oriented around that so much, especially when we're, anyway. The thing is Stranger Things kind of brings out those things that we say. I notice that all these, it's just very realistic in a way, regarding how people interact with each other. Not only in the 80s, but a lot of this was how we just are still. And I don't know, like, you guys tell me at this point, because this is a hard one to be succinct about, but I mean, do you feel like, maybe it's a good thing to talk to more people and have more regular relations with people, that are really, uplifting. And if things have been a little less that way in the past, maybe what might have been, why would that might have been the case? Or but I mean, like when I was in high school, I tried to keep getting out of this frame of mind that was kind of like it's kind of the frame of mind that comes when you watch a TV show regularly for a long time, whether or not you want to or not. It's kind of like this habit you get into. It's a mental habit. It's a daily routine, and the TV show itself might be really stupid, pointless, right? It is. This TV show's basically that way. Very few exceptions, and you know, it's dumb, stupid. And so, I'm one of the first people that say Netflix has worn out its welcome in that regard, and maybe needs to do more Eurocanal, interesting stuff, especially the animated stuff. I don't know, but well, I know we all want more good movies, truly good movies. That's what that means. Might vary from fantasy comedy to horror or whatever, but basically, getting back to a little tangent there. Just to sum this up, basically, I guess it's just what is wrong with the world socially. Well, I don't think, to be honest, I think we should all treat people more like the way that Jesus treated people, and we don't want to be fake with people, but just if if somebody, it's just like if you want to be a kinder person, it does take effort, but it does start with actually being a kinder person, thinking kinder thoughts, um, trying to be more, trying to let people in your life, of whether or not that you, however desirable socially or whatever else they are, trying to let people in your life that you like their company, but you also feel like there's something to be gained from talking with them or the conversation. It's not necessarily something, the more emotional, spiritual, the better. If it's just an intellectual thing, or if it's something occupational, it's just not really very deep. It's not a very deep connection. So anyway, I hope it's just touching on some of the right bases. And I understand this is a bit more sensitive and deeper subject, But what is wrong with the world? What's wrong with the world is that it's pride. It's something is wrong with you, not because you're not because you need to repent of something bad that's really bad and heinous, but even in that case, you know, I, we shouldn't cut off communication unless it all depends. But no, okay, it's just people that not. kind of like this. It's like imagine that each of us are in this endless ocean, and we're each like boats. And sometimes some of our boats get holes in them, and we might sink, or we try to plug them up with stuff. Isn't it nice though to have people that are kind of like our tugboats, or like help us go somewhere, try to find land ahoy somewhere. And isn't it easier to go through that ocean, even if there's some big tidal waves and things and storms, when we have other boats that are with us, strength in numbers, other people that have stronger sails. I know this sounds like kind of I wouldn't say cheesy now. It's not that cheesy. It's a church analogy or something, but that's the way things are. I think we all need people in our lives, and what's wrong with the world is that many of us don't have a lot of people like that, and many people have other boats that are trying to sink us. Pirate ships that are, we say, oh hey, we maybe enjoy a good argument, so we get our cannons out, so to speak, and we start firing at each other, and we do damage to some other ship, and they sink, and they sink our ship, and then we fix it. Maybe we don't totally get eaten by sharks. Maybe somehow miraculously build a new ship somehow. I don't know. Take the analogy as far as you want to, but the problem is we don't realize maybe how much we need each other, or something along those lines. We just isolate ourselves from people because we've had these bad experiences with people, and that should have never happened. And that's what's wrong with the world. It's so deep. It's like one of the deepest things you can think of. But just speaking plainly, I'm not getting theological about this. Yeah, I mean, I think we know when we've made bad decisions socially, but we don't always want to say why. And there's all kinds of reasons why we have spent time with the wrong people for often good intentions and things, or we haven't spent enough time with people we should have. But what's worse than all that is like when you try to destroy someone. When there are words you could say, not just physical harm, but there are things you could say to really hurt someone. You don't always know what those things would be, and you don't know. There's a lot of things you don't know, and if you don't know them, it's going to be better in your case. But if you do know what someone can hurt someone, and you definitely, that's you're part of the problem in that case. And I realize I'm probably preaching to the choir because I tell you the truth, unless you guys have realized this already, I want my subscribers to be more the cream of the crop in the world. So I think you guys are the cream of the crop, because I'm just not going to have subscribers on my channel that are dross, and so people might wonder why I have so few subscribers. Well, they might be few, but they're great people, and I just want great people subscribed to. So thank you for being good people, because I think if you weren't a good person, you'd probably boot yourself off this channel anyway. So no, but that's the way we need to be. We need to be good people that, whether you follow Christ or Buddha, or imagine a lot of these people will say, you don't treat people like crud. You don't just ignore people. It's so easy to do that. If you're impatient, a little patience with people, eager to find just people that, some of us have a hard time, actually, a really hard time finding people that we just really want to connect with. And some people, I don't know. You would think that YouTube would be an easier way to do that. Especially if someone lives nearby where you live. That rarely happens, but I don't know. I still have faith that there's still some social potential on YouTube, so I still put myself out there a little bit. But the thing is wrap this up. I know this is one of the longer ones. What's wrong with the world in a social context? What's wrong with the world is evil, but with it in a social context, definitely has to do with things like pride, and has to do with holding grudges, that I'm more forgiving of somewhat, but it has to do with judging people the wrong way, saying stupid things, to people that you should never have said. Not taking time to understand someone and their thoughts. Because, there are people that you really should listen to, and other people that maybe don't deserve as much of your time. They might be miserable because they're having less of your time, but they'll figure it out. They'll be, you want to spend, maybe a little bit of time, always, just a little bit to some, with folks that maybe aren't your favorite people, but they're not terrible people. But it's a good thing to do that because if they're not terrible people, they're not pulling you down. Maybe they're just kind of semi-annoying, or maybe they're just kind of, you know, needing a buddy to talk to for a bit. If you do that kind of stuff, and you still have people that you really do like to talk to in your life more, I think that's going to serve you better in the long run in life. Because you can say after this life, you'll know in your heart of hearts, no, I was merciful to my brother or sister. I did, I did, I, sorry guys, I did try to help people in my own way. And if it wasn't financial, it was with my time, or it was with the listening ear. And maybe they were cruel somewhat, but I put myself out there. And maybe I wasn't always very wise about who it was I was trying to be a good Samaritan to in a way, but maybe I was a little bit hypocritical, maybe I was a little bit goody two shoes about it or whatever. But each of you guys could say, as you look back at people you've known, no, I truly did try to be a good person. Sometimes the relationship turned out to be a really great thing. It was mutually enjoyable. Maybe not always, but I do think it's a good thing to at least spend a little bit of your time with people that maybe you aren't always super excited to be around. Maybe people that you at least want. You have to be able to at least sort of like them, you know. Anyway, definitely in this video, leave your thoughts and comments below. And I realize the more sensitive nature of this topic, so I hope everything was great for you guys listening to this. Catch you guys later. Bye.